Today's Locked On Thunder podcast. What do you have to watch for this preseason? We're going to dive into that on today's show.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into our bold predictions for the season and what to watch for in the preseason contest for the Thunder with Oklahoman columnist and part of the OKC Dream Team with me over on Patreon, Joe Mussatto. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good, right, guy. We're almost a week into training camp here. I saw you at practice earlier today. Life's good. Basketball's here.
Yeah, basketball's here. It's been good. Got to see you for a little bit at practice today with Mark Pope in town.
Mark Pope and Nate Oates.
Nate Oates? Nate Honey Bunches of Oats?
You know, a lot of people love Mark Pope. Nate Oates, great coach, but I don't hear a lot of pleasant things. But hey, who knows? I hope I hope they had a great time together.
Yeah, they're rivals as well in the
That's
SEC. Right. I'm glad they could coexist today in the Thunder practice facility. Porter was out there earlier this week, so it's a great thing that Mark does, bringing in the coaches from college ranks, and he also does it with some even lower division schools in Oklahoma as well. Yeah. So great thing that the team does. It was interesting though, because I don't think we've ever seen coaches as far away as Kentucky and Alabama here.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I checked, and they said it wasn't really out of the norm, that this is a thing that goes on not just with the Thunder, but across the NBA. But I would expect once you win a championship, you've got a staff that's been together a long time, an organization like the Thunder. I assume that there's more interest in going to see a Thunder practice than, going to Charlotte.
Oh, it's Charlotte. Catching strays. I mean, who else do you want to sideswipe today, Joey? Sideswipes. Hey, good Lord. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is. It's interesting the way Mark approaches it too, of just him wanting to learn from them, and as much as they want to learn from him and learn from this organization and this culture, and really, when you look at this, bleeding into college basketball talk for a second, like the college game is getting ever so closely to the NBA game, especially when it comes to managing teams, managing rosters. We know Sam Presti is often lingering around the practice facility for practices. So, I mean, I'm sure that they have the opportunity to talk to him at least a little bit. And it all is interconnected with NIL and with flushing out rosters and type of guys you want to bring in and kind of how you develop players. This is a model organization of how to player development and what it takes to do that. So, I mean, there's a lot of good resources for them here. It was just fun to see them at practice before the start of the college season, which college basketball going down a bad road with the expansion to this tournament. You can go check out Locked On College Basketball for more of that talk. But, Joe, let's stay on the coaching staff for a second, because spoiler alert, if you haven't already put it out yet, you are writing a story about the continuity of this team's coaching staff. And, the only change has been an addition to Cam Woods being back on the Thunder assistant coaching staff after spending time with the Blue as the head coach. And before he was the Blue head coach, he was already on Mark's first ever staff in OKC. And at that time got a lot of credit, as you remember, as the beat writer of those teams, for why that team was so good defensively. And he's back. And other than that, no changes. And so this is a group that's been together for a long time, and you've got some interesting nuggets on like why that's so important.
Yeah, story's not out yet, but thank you for the plug, Rylan. So Dave Bliss, David Akinyoye, Mike Wilkes, they've been on Mark Daigneault's staff since before the beginning, because all those guys were assistants together under Billy Donovan in the 2019-20 season. That was Daigneault's first year as a Thunder assistant after he came up from the Blue. He retains all of those guys. You mentioned Cam Woods, who was in the organization as a player, then as an assistant. He goes to the G League as well, and now he's back. We've seen Grant Gibbs go back and forth. And, even a guy like Chip England, he's in year 4. Connor Johnson, I think, is in year 6. Eric Maynor, obviously played for the Thunder, but I think he's in his 4th year. So, not all of these are like household names, but their faces should at least be familiar because they've been on the Thunder bench throughout this run, really since, coming out of the bubble, starting with that 2020-21 season. And I do think it's important because the NBA is such a transient league. You've got players going back and forth. You've got coaches going back and forth, especially assistant coaches. Those guys are basically like paid mercenaries because if their head coach gets fired, they get fired and they've got to find a new job. So the stability that you have here in Oklahoma City with Mark Daigneault and those assistants, I do think is really important.
And it's important too for player development. And you asked some players about this here recently of just the familiarity with them, the chemistry and the budding relationships with the coaches that remain the same. Also, the consistency of a plan, of a developmental plan and framework and goals that you set and how you achieve those goals, all being from the same voice, same beat that your entire career has been in Oklahoma City. It's what can allow the Thunder to see some of these young players take that next step. And we have a bold prediction show today. So we're going to be talking all about young players taking the next step and things of that nature, like a Chet Holmgren, like a Cason Wallace, like a whoever on this roster. They've all got their individual coaches. You get to these games early as well. You see the same guys working out with the same coaches before every single game. They don't switch it up. They don't change different coaches. They almost have their coach, and their coach helps them along in this developmental track. And so I think that's great for this team. And it's an underrated part about this roster, about this team trying to repeat as champions. But Joe, basketball is literally back because today we saw the Sixers take on the Knicks, my 76ers take on the New York Knicks. And this weekend, we'll see the Thunder take on the Hornets. I think it'll be on the Thunder app, according to the press release. So you'll have the broadcast crew there in Charleston or wherever it's going to be at.
Yeah, you nailed it. Charleston.
Okay, do the Charleston if you want to right now for us. It's a Carlton, actually. But nonetheless, what are you watching for this preseason? Because the Thunder have loaded up their schedule with preseason games that they're playing a back-to-back right out of the chute. What are you interested in the preseason?
Yeah, nothing like back-to-back preseason games like a month away from the season, basically. But no, I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit, Nikola Topic. That's who I'm going to be watching for because this is a team of knowns, and he is basically the only unknown on this team. So I'm really curious what Topic looks like. I also think in the preseason, we're going to have no idea game to game who's going to play. Obviously, the starters are going to sit more often than not, but I think like Topic is a guy that you're going to want to have in there. Maybe not on that back-to-back, but give him a lot of run this preseason to see what he looks like. So he's number one on my what am I watching for this preseason list.
He is number one on my list as well. And then we're going to talk about what to expect from Topic both in the preseason and the regular season coming up. But first, Joe, we've talked about this before the show began. I need to tell you about your finances. I need to tell you about Monarch Money because Monarch Money is there for you. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts and even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments. When you don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, so you can stop putting off your finances because Monarch Money is going to do it for you. They do the heavy lifting. They link all your accounts in minutes, and you see clear-cut data visuals and get smart categorizations of your spending and feel like you're in complete control of your money because you are without ever touching a spreadsheet. Not a math pod, not a spreadsheet pod. So I'm glad that Monarch Money takes care of that. I also love the categorization feature. How much do we spend a month on subscriptions, Joe? Between the two of us, probably way too much. And Monarch Money can cut that down for us. And you go there right now to not let any financial opportunity slip through the crack. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. You everydayers make the show go. Check us out at the Oklahoman for Joe Mussatto, Thunder on SI for myself, Lockdown Thunder, OKC Dream Team for both of us. We have a lot of stuff coming out as the Thunder season begins to rock and roll. Joe, when you look at Nikola Topic, he's, of course, the thing to watch. I found it very fascinating in the ways of which they're describing Topic whenever they're asked about them. Topic is the question you can set your watch to being asked about at training camp throughout these last few days. And no one has asked leading questions about Topic. Everybody's just asked, how does he look? And you can take that however you want to. But I found it so fascinating that with that open-endedness, every player and Mark has brought it back to his ability to play off the ball, which has been my big red flag about what's Topic going to be as a rookie if he struggles off the ball and he struggles defensively. And they seem very encouraged by where he's at playing off the ball. So that's what I'm most interested in watching from him in the preseason, on top of just, what is this guy? What can he do on the ball, getting to the rim? What can he do as a playmaker? Because he showed really good strides in the summer league. And let's be honest, he played one game with Brandon Carlson, a legitimate NBA center. He did not have a legitimate NBA roster around him besides Mitchell and the one game of Carlson. What does he look like with NBA players around him in the preseason? I'm fascinated by it. What are you expecting? What are you looking for specifically about Topic?
Well, just to piggyback off your point about him off the ball, like Chet was talking a couple of days ago about how smart he is just finding open space when he's off the ball. Now, we do hear so much when he's on the ball about his floor game, about his ability to read defenses, those hit-ahead passes to get the offense out in transition. I'm going to be watching for all of that. I'm also going to be watching for, and the preseason isn't a great way to judge defense because, guys naturally aren't going 100% on that end of the floor. I am curious to see what types of players he defends, whether or not they're trying to hide him, what he looks like when he's kind of isolated, especially on a perimeter player. And I want to see if he can shoot it. Like this, it kind of goes back to the Josh Giddey discussion and some of the things that became his downfall, the defensive end and mainly the 3-point shooting. And again, I think if Topic tops out as a Josh Giddey level player, I think that's an excellent pick and a win for the Thunder and a win for Topic in his NBA career. I'm just not there yet because we haven't seen it.
Whenever you look at Topic and you talked about Josh Giddey there, the conversation inevitably gets back to Josh Giddey. But Joe, I think people forget that the whole Josh Giddey trade, while it was a great trade, and I think that everyone got out of it what they wanted to. The Bulls got off of Caruso for some value, and Giddey, they just paid Giddey. Giddey got that contract largely because he was a starter and he was playing in a more comfortable position. And the Thunder got what they wanted out of it by getting a defensive ace who helped them win a championship. But that trade came about not because of the failed Dallas series, not because Oklahoma City didn't think that Josh Giddey's a good player, not because Josh Giddey couldn't fit with what they were trying to build, but it came out largely because of the fact that Josh Giddey did not want to come off the bench. And this is not shade at Josh Giddey for that. I wouldn't have either, frankly. If I was Josh Giddey in a contract year, I'm not coming off the bench. And so they had I say that to say this, they had a plan in place to have a very, what they thought, successful season and successful route for this roster with Josh Giddey off the bench. And if you consider this, to be the same archetype of Josh Giddey, they had something planned already a year ago for what it could look like if Josh was going to come off the bench. And now they have Topic. So they clearly kind of crave that archetype of a ball handler, traditional point guard, great passer, playmaker who's limited as a shooter, limited as a defender, and they want to find ways to work around that. And they had a plan in place to do so, and they just didn't get to execute that plan. And now they can with Topic back on the floor. So I don't know really what to expect from him in the regular season in terms of minutes. I think that they are going to explore it though, because to me, the regular season for this Thunder team is largely about, getting yourself to be the best version you can be by the playoffs. It's not about the 1 seed. It's not about a win record. It's not about anything but, hey, what do we have in house that we can deploy later in the season? And for an offense last year that at times stalled out, and we had our own, talks about that throughout the last postseason. At times the half-court offense looked shaky. At times they couldn't buy a bucket. And that's the only thing that really stopped them from dominating the postseason. And that's the only thing that stopped them from having a clean second round and a clean finals. if you can find minutes for Topic, that won't always look pretty. They won't always look smooth, and perhaps you could have dominated a team if you just didn't play him on certain nights. But if you can find minutes and have him work through those growing pains and get to the other side of that as a better team, because he adds a new dynamic as a playmaker to set guys up and to keep that offense mixing around and in rhythm, then you got to do it. And so, like, I don't know what to expect from him minute-wise, but I'm fascinated by if it works.
I'm really happy that you explained the Giddey situation the way you did, because there is some revisionist history, like, it didn't work for both sides, and they just decided to move on. The Thunder did not want to move on from Josh Giddey. Sam Presti loved Josh Giddey. I assume he still loves Josh Giddey. It all came down to his role, and given the timing of, Josh being a young player and seeking a bigger contract, like, it totally made sense for him. But as evidence of how much they liked Josh Giddey, they targeted a guy in the draft who very much had those same traits in Topic. So, it's not a perfect one-for-one comparison, but I do think that they view him as a guy who can come off the bench and run the offense much in the way they wanted Giddey to, if he would have been willing to accept that role.
Another thing I'm watching for in the preseason, and you do shift this into a preseason mindset, because like you mentioned, the starters and the stars of the NBA do play more in the NBA's preseason than the stars of baseball and football do in their preseasons, but it is going to be in a limited capacity. So I'm interested the most in like Topic and Mitchell. I think that AJay Mitchell, this is a guy that Mark says could be a plus defender in the league. And he was very careful to say he's not going to be Lou Dort, which thanks, Mark. Of course, he's not going to be Lou Dort, but he's going to be a plus defender in the NBA, potentially, if he develops properly, which I agree with Mark, full force agree with him that AJ has that type of potential defensively. He has a refined body. He's talked about how much film he's been studying, and he did study throughout that rehab process. And this was a guy who picked it up very quickly. I mean, from training camp last season to day one in Denver, it was jarring to see him in the rotation, and he stuck there the whole way until he got hurt because of how much he could adapt to the life in the NBA on the fly. But now you've gotten a chance to take it all in, sit with it, and grow from it. How does he look on the NBA floor this season? Because he was a guy that dominated in Summer League and was way too good to be playing Summer League, and I think that largely extended his play in Summer League because of Topic. Like, if Topic wasn't a novelty thing, I think that he would have been shut down like the rest of the guys in Thunder history have been. So just seeing Topic play and seeing Mitchell play, what their roles are together as two guys who I think that most people view as like the potential backup point guard, and how they play off of each other and coexist together on top of who just plays better, will be most intriguing.
Mitchell got some spot minutes in the playoffs, even though he only came back for 2 regular season games after that turf toe injury and before the playoffs. So that's how much confidence they have in him, that they were willing to not rush him back there, but put him back in legitimate kind of clutch minutes. I was slow to the party on AJay Mitchell. I couldn't be more impressed with this guy, just how he carries himself. He's so well-rounded. Like, there's not one jaw-dropping skill that really stands out, but he does everything. I feel like at least like a B to B plus level. And you talked about kind of his, body transformation, but Mark Daigneault kind of unprompted talked about how he just looks stronger. He looks more physical. He doesn't know if he gained weight, but it's just kind of distributed differently. And, it's his first full NBA offseason. So that's exciting to hear. He would be number 2 on my list as well, behind Topic.
Now, Joe, I want to get into our bold predictions for this season. And some of them are going to be bold predictions that you have to squint to see and you have to really bank on. And if we're right, we're going to look like millionaires. And if we're wrong, we'll probably just sweep it under the rug, honestly. And then some of it will be like bold predictions that, hey, this could legitimately happen. And we've both put together 5 bold predictions for you for this upcoming Thunder season coming up on today's Locked On Thunder podcast. Speaking of, if you're right, you can make some money. We have our good friends over at FanDuel, Joe. Check out FanDuel, because the NFL season is here and FanDuel has an offer you cannot miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, you put $5 down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Make sure you check that out today, because football season is here in full swing, and especially on a Thursday night as we're recording this. Perhaps this Thursday night game does not interest you at all. You can make it more interesting by placing a bet down with FanDuel. And if you're only into the NBA, don't worry. They already have lines out there. The Thunder are 8.5-point favorites on opening night over the Rockets. Check them out today by visiting FanDuel.com, downloading the FanDuel app, and get started. Again, your first $5 bet will net you $300 in bonus bets if it wins. Go check them out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day, talking with Joe Mussatto of the Oklahoman. Joe, I asked you to put together your bold predictions.
You did.
You craved an outline. I gave you an outline. Your bold prediction number one is?
I teased this on the Dream Team show, but it is Chet Holmgren is an All-NBA player, but not just an All-NBA player, Rylan. Second team All-NBA Chet Holmgren. Bank it. It's going to happen. That's my first bold prediction.
Man, second team All-NBA. That's
how hard are you squinting right now?
Oh, it's Mark. It's Mark looking up at the Jumbotron levels of squinting right now for this bold prediction, because it is semantics-based squints, I will say. Because one of my bold predictions involves Chet. Actually, two of them involve Chet, but one of them specifically about All-NBA. I think that Chet will be all defensive first team. I think it'll be All-NBA third team. But the difference in third team to second team, pretty dramatic. And going from no team to third team is pretty good. Going from no team to second team is excellent, great, incredible, and arguably historic. I want to ask you this before I harshly judge your bold prediction. And we're going to rate these 1 through 5 on a scale of boldness. Is this saying, hey, even with the knowledge that we have today, with everybody healthy and the stars of the league healthy, I still think that Chet will outperform everybody to get the second team honor? Or is this saying, hey, I think that Chet will be healthy, and I think that inevitably in the NBA throughout the last few years, we've seen that the 65-game rule takes some prestige out of these awards because some guys just don't hit that marker. Where are you at on that line of the fence?
I mean, more of the latter. Let's be honest. J-Dub probably doesn't make third team last year without plenty of guys missing the cut because of the games played minimum. So yeah, things are going to have to break his way. However, I'm saying second team and not third team because I think there's a good chance the Thunder has 3 guys on all NBA teams, and I think they could go in order. First team, second team, and J-Dub being back on third team. I do think Chet at his best, and I'm predicting kind of a breakout season for him and staying healthy. I think he's going to be viewed as the Thunder's second most valuable player. So if you're ordering those guys, maybe they both end up on third team, who knows? But it's positionless now. I think if he's, second to Wemby in defensive player of the year or wins it because Wemby doesn't play enough, that's going to be another feather in his cap. So yeah, it's, if I'm picking him, is it even bold to predict Chet for third team?
I think that the boldness of a third team would be, a 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Bold.
So is this a 5?
Second team would be a 4 because I can't kill you too much over this. I can't get you a 5.
It's a bold prediction.
It's a bold prediction, but I can't give you a 5 because of what you mentioned. One of my bold predictions you've already brought up. J-Dub is second team All-NBA. Therefore, the Thunder have 3 All-NBAers, 1 on each team. And I think that J-Dub will take the step as a scorer, especially as a scorer whenever you look at this sense. I believe he's going to get better as a three-point shooter. I think that he's closer to who he was at the start of his NBA career than last year as a three-point shooter. That adds in points for him. I think that this year is the year in which he finally gets reputation calls, respect calls, and just the right calls to get him to the free throw line. He got to the free throw line a bit more in the postseason, especially down the stretch of the postseason after that Denver Game 6 and beyond that. So I think that his just sheer force going to the rim will improve, and that gets him easy points. And I think that he will have a great offensive season, and we know who he is as a defender, the most versatile defender in the NBA, arguably. And so I think that he'll get second team, and then the Thunder will have 3 All-NBAers. And that's my bold prediction, number 2 for this podcast.
That's your second overall, though, right?
It's my second overall.
That's your first bold prediction.
No. I snuck in my Chet one. My Chet one was like, I'm on third team.
Okay.
I have him on first team all defense. That's my take off of your Chet take. So this is my second bold prediction in
Sorry.
total.
I already.
We're not a math pod, Joe. Joe, we're not a freaking math pod. And everybody knows.
I
No
know you
apologies
don't.
needed.
I know you don't like when I push back against anything you say, but I was just
Oh,
making
don't do
sure
that.
we were
Don't
on the
do
same
that.
page.
Oh, Mister, I don't have an outline. I don't know what to say. Oh, I forgot we're talking Thunder on the Thunder show. You could have reminded me.
You ready for my second?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Or third, whatever we're on.
This is your second. This is
Cason Wallace starts more games than Isaiah Hartenstein.
Joe, get out of my brain, dude. We have the same players on these lists.
Do you have a similar one?
I have Cason adjacently similar, I would say. My bold prediction is that Cason averages 12 or more points per game this season. He's never averaged double-digit points, so I think that this is fairly bold. And arguably the pathway to more shot attempts to get more points per game is through the starting lineup. And I've been saying that I think that at the end of the season, their best lineup is going to be Cason in place of iHeart, Chet as a lone 5, J-Dub, Lou, Cason, Shea as that starting 5. So I could see this bold prediction coming true. I'm not squinting at all. With arms and eyes wide open, I'm embracing this bold prediction from you, Joe.
I actually think years of Cason averaging double-digit points is more bold than mine of Cason starting more games than Hartenstein. I also feel like me and you are just trying to will this to happen because we've always been kind of on this side of the starting lineup debate. Last year, Cason starts 43 games, but a lot of that because he started when Chet was out. He started when Hartenstein was out. Hartenstein was basically a full-time starter when he played 53 of his 57 games he started. And so this is me predicting that the Thunder is going to go with that single big look more often than not. And that Hartenstein is going to transition into a bench role.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I hope that we're right because you are correct. We've been circling the wagons of this for a long time. And so we kind of just want to cling to it and be right at the end of the day. I will say another bold prediction. This is number 3 for me. AJay Mitchell finishes the season and heads into the playoffs and finishes the playoffs as a top 8 rotational piece this year for the Thunder. It will be Shea, Lou, Dub, Chet, iHeart, Cason, Caruso, AJay.
That's bold. I'm going to give you a 4.1.
4.1, not even a 5 yet. Okay, I'm very curious how to get a 5 out of you.
Yeah, because basically what you're saying here is you think AJay is going to be more impactful, more important to this team than Aaron Wiggins. That's kind of what this comes down to, right?
I think so, yeah.
Because Wiggins would clearly be next on that list, and then probably Isaiah Joe.
Yeah.
And I know it's not like position for position or same roles or anything, but we saw Wiggs kind of emerge as that guy last year. So yeah, I think this is bold.
Yeah, I just look at AJay as a guy who can do it in a multitude of different ways. I mean, I think last season he was a better defender than he got credit for. I do agree with Mark that he's going to be a plus defender this season and develop into that throughout his career. I think that defensively he, of course, can defend guards at a high level. I think that he competes enough whenever he gets switched on to bigger bodies to warrant him playing on that end. And then offensively, man, he showed a lot of things offense last year. Getting to the rim, facilitating on the drive and kick stuff as a lead guard, but also knocking down catch and shoot jumpers, shooting 38% from 3, and in a role which I think that can improve whenever he's back and playing a full season fully healthy this year, hopefully. So I just think that there's so many chances to play AJay Mitchell. There's so many lineups that work. You can play next to Shea. He can play next to Dub. He can play next to Shea and Dub. He can play as the lead guard. He can play off the ball. That I just think there's so many chances to get him on the floor, and he's going to be so impactful. And he very clearly has earned the trust from Mark. The fact that he played from the word go last year as a second-round rookie on a team that was loaded and had title aspirations until he got hurt, and then found his way back into the playoff rotation and played in the finals after he only played 2 regular season games to close it off that turf toe injury. Like, clearly, Mark sees the vision with AJay the same way that I do. So I'm going to say by the end of the year, it'll be old reliable for the OKC Thunder.
I like that. So if you look at the minutes per game, this is just regular season, but 6 guys played 27 or more minutes, and that was Shea, Dub, Dort, iHeart, Cason, and Chet. Then 7th on that list, Aaron Wiggins, 22.9. And then Isaiah Joe, 21.7, Caruso, 19.3. So I just can't help but hear this as Aaron Wiggins slander, which I'll have none of. But, maybe I'm just being too defensive.
Maybe you are clinging to Wiggins too much, because here's the deal with Wiggins. To me, he's in control of his own destiny. Because if Aaron Wiggins can come back at some point, whether it's this year or in the future, and be a competitive plus level defender, defending bigger wings, then he automatically becomes your legitimate sixth man. Because that's the only thing he's missing. He's a good defender when he gets to defend guards. He's a good defender when he gets to defend a more natural position. But whenever he's in charge with defending bigger forwards, it slips defensively. And it becomes to an unplayable level at times in matchups and in big games. But if he fixes that, then you can't keep him off the floor, because he too can score off the ball. But more importantly, he's the third best shot creator on this entire team.
Yeah, he was their fourth leading scorer last season. And
that is of immense value come playoff time, to be able to go create your own shot. So this is a bold prediction, because AJ needs to do a lot of things to round out his game to make this happen. Wiggins needs to do one thing to make sure that this doesn't happen. So it is a bold prediction, and I'm not going to count out Wiggins, but I am very much in on AJay Mitchell.
I could also see Wiggins playing more than Mitchell in the regular season, and that flip-flopping in the postseason. I could see Mark Daigneault trusting AJay Mitchell more.
Yes, and that's why I had the caveat of, at the end of the year, when it's all said and done, we'll be able to say AJ was a top 8 player in the rotation. Because the regular season rotation, he plays 12, 13 guys a night. Like, it's just, there is a plan, there is a rotation, he has structure, but it's almost like controlled chaos of, like, if you're trying to definitively say who's your 6 versus who's your 8, it blurs the lines quite a bit with the way that they do things. In the playoffs, though, while he does still explore the bench and he does still play a lot of guys, you can clearly tell who has the lion's share of that pie chart, and you can clearly go down the list at that time. And I think at that time, AJ will etch his name high on that list. What's another bold prediction from you, Joe?
This one's pretty spicy, I think. The Thunder will have 3 20-plus point per game scorers.
Wow. Of course, Shea, J-Dub, and Chet, right?
Shea, J-Dub, and Chet. For some context, last year, Shea obviously averaged north of 30. Dub was at 21.6. Chet was at 15. But if I'm calling for second-team Chet, maybe he gets that up to 20. This has only happened a few times in NBA history. I don't have the list in front of me. Oddly enough, that 2019-20 Thunder team came kind of close. They had 3 guys averaging 18.7 or more per game. That was Shea, Schroeder, and Gallinari. And then Chris Paul was at like 17. So, it could happen. I don't think it will happen. But, if Chet's scoring 20 points per game, I think the other 2 are pretty much locks for that. Definitely one of them is. How about that?
I'll see your 4.1. I'll rate you a 4.2. Like, this is a bold prediction.
Nice.
But it's not a 5. It's not impossible. You have plenty of room to make that work. I will say my last bold prediction: Chet Holmgren, back to Chet. Can't get enough of Chet.
We love Chet this year.
And this might be my lowest grade from you on bold predictions, because I think it's so likely to happen that I struggled to even put it on the list. Chet Holmgren, 40% from 3 on 4.9 attempts or more per game.
I like that. I'll give you. Yeah, I might give you like a 2.5.
Okay, that's fair. But
this is still bold.
Yeah, it's still bold. It still fits the category. And I didn't cheat the assignment. I didn't say something like Shea will average 30. But this is something where last season he averaged 3.6 attempts from 3. His rookie season, he averaged 4.3 attempts from 3. So this would be upping his attempts per game, and also finally crossing over that 40% threshold, which he shot 37% as a rookie and 38% last year, crossing over that 40% threshold. So it is improvement from Chet, which, if he does what we expect, we both have him as an all-NBA player. The most likely way to facilitate shots for him and to facilitate production from him is at the three-point line. So I think that's where it's going to happen, and I'm all in on Chet's 3.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure if he ever got his legs back, especially with that three-point shot. You saw it flatten out even over the course of a game. So with maybe a productive offseason for him, Maybe he's a little stronger in the lower half, and that shot gets off a little easier. So I like that one. My last one's kind of a joke, but kind of not.
Give it to me. I like to laugh.
Isaiah Hartenstein makes a 3-pointer.
Wow. Now hold on. He was 0 for 22 last year.
I think it was 0 for 19. Do I have that wrong?
No, you're right, because we were trying to get him to 0 for 22. We were following that.
0 for 22 is the NBA record. Tom Garrick, 1990-1991 Clippers went 0 for 22. That's the most attempts in a season without a make. Hart really was pushing it. Can we
transfer misses? Like if he starts out the year going 0 for 5, I mean, is he all of a sudden now the new leader, technically?
Yeah, I don't think we would have to do some new.
That'd be too much work. We're not a math pod. That'd be too much work. Let me ask you this.
This one's irrelevant to the Thunder success, by the way. It's just something I'll be
just tracking. Something fun. We're out on Hartenstein becoming a 3-point shooter. It's just fun to start.
Yes.
But let me ask you, what would we consider a win? Because we're going to be we have these written down. We're going to be documenting these bold predictions and seeing who had more right. Just so we're on the record here, does it count if it's a full court heave, which is technically 3 points, or is it only in the half court, he takes a 3 and it goes in?
Rylan, if he's behind that line and he gets a shot off and it goes in, that counts.
Then I move this to like a 3.
You think he's going to make a heave?
Well, listen, heaves no longer count against your stats. So I think that guys are going to be more willing to just throw it up there. And,
let me ask you this. Do they count if you make it?
Yes. I mean, they did in the G League if you made it.
Okay.
But they don't count your misses.
So why wouldn't you count anything? If he makes it, he makes it. It's a 3-pointer.
What I'm saying is that it's easier for a big man like Steven Adams just launch the pill down there at the buzzer, and if it goes in, you get lucky. It's like a blind squirrel finding a nut. So that's not within the spirit of a 3-point shot to me, as it is if you had to literally get the ball, throw up a 3, stuff like that. So I'll back it down. If you do come around to my side of things and say he's got to shoot a legitimate behind the line traditional 3, not a heave, then I'd say it's a 4.2.
What if he's like it's like an inbounds play, and obviously they're not trying to get it to him, but they get it to him. He's like 5 feet beyond the arc, and he just shoves it up, and it goes in.
If he's in front of the timeline, I count it.
Okay, so yeah, that's fair. Let's do it.
Okay, a front of the timeline 3 from iHeart, and Joe wins a grande iced coffee or hot coffee from Starbucks. We'll up the stakes even more on today's bold predictions from Joe. Joe, it's good to have you back, man. You've been in football land, you've been in softball land, you've been in every land possible. It's good to have you back talking Thunder. We'll be watching them play Sunday and Monday and all throughout the playoffs and postseason and preseason and regular season. But let them know what you're up to here on Locked On Thunder.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of Thunder stuff go live at oklahoman.com. You can read everything I write and my colleagues right there. Listen to the Dream Team podcast, subscribe if you want to, and maybe Rylan will have me back on Locked On, and you can find me there from time to time.
You can find Joe as much as he's able to hop on to Locked On Thunder. Make sure you check out OKC Dream Team. Make sure you check out the Oklahoman and Thunder on SI. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.